Hello, I'm Richard Orford and you're watching The Real Romania. Now, when I was first told I was coming to this country, I thought of an ex-communist state run by a dictator, full of Romani gypsies. To be honest, I thought of a country that was going to be a little bit backward. How wrong I was. This is Bucharest, Europe's fastest growing city. And joining the EU in 2007, Romania is one of the hottest places in the world right now to buy property. Over the next hour, I'll be telling you why. "23 million Romanians live in 237,000 square kilometres, sandwiched between Bulgaria and the Ukraine. The capital, Bucharest, lies in the south, and to the east is the Black Sea. One of the main pulls of Romania is the climate. The summer months are perfect for enjoying the beach, the mountains, or even the city parks. And during the winter months, Transylvania's ski slopes rival anything the Alps has to offer from December through till May. Europe's best-kept secret is out. If it's designer shopping you want, start waving the plastic. You'll be spoilt for choice. Or if you dream of peace and quiet, climb aboard, certain that you won't be breaking any speed limits. Romania is a place of incredible contrasts. Well, Romania is probably best known for its bloody past, either in the form of the fictional vampire Dracula or in the real-life regime of the infamous communist dictator Nicolae Ceausescu. Incidentally, it was Ceausescu who bulldozed a sixth of Bucharest to build himself, and the people, this! Have a look at that! The People's Palace, built in just 5 years, incredibly. Now, it's fair to say that the Romanians themselves suffered a great deal during his 25-year dictatorship, but it all ended, and it ended right here, dramatically, in December 1989, when over 1,000 people were killed by state forces during a protest, and then, escaping by helicopter from the roof, was Ceausescu and his wife, who ultimately, though, met their end. Execution by firing squad. Happy days. Nearly 2 decades later, and Romania has made an incredible recovery. So, it's out with the old and in with the new. Politically stable, on the verge of EU membership, and with a growing economy and demand for property, now is the time to invest on a country on the up. Well, that's everything I've learnt from the guidebooks, but what would a local fella, Romanian, born and bred, have to say? So, Christian, what's so great about Romania at the moment?
Well, it's a very nice country to visit. Romania is friendly. It's still unspoiled. There's beautiful scenery to be discovered, great places, nice cities. And according to most of the people who have been here for the first time, it's far above the expectations.
What would you say is the difference between foreigners' perception of Romania and the reality?
Some foreigners coming to Romania come with a false image given by the media, and the media have portrayed Romania mostly with the bad things that happened: orphanages, stray dogs, gypsies, and so on. You don't see that. You see nice cities with beautiful monuments, beautiful sceneries in the mountains in Transylvania and the monasteries and so on, and above all, very friendly people.
You mentioned there some great architecture as well, and we've got an example here behind us. This is the Atheum, isn't it?
The Athenaeum, the Romanian Athenaeum, is the most famous concert hall where the Romanian Philharmonic Orchestra plays. It's an example of perfect classical architecture. It was designed by a French architect in 1888.
Now, everyone's aware of the history of Romania, in particular the dictatorship of Ceausescu.
That's the recent history.
Yeah, how has that changed over the last few years since he's been taken out of power?
We are learning the capitalist way of life and society, and things are changing. With the free market economy, with the freedom of speech, which is probably the greatest achievement with the change of regime, people have learned to live differently. I imagine you cannot even picture the shortages of food and of everything, the long queues for buying something. Now that when you go to any store in Romania, there's plenty of everything.
He's not wrong, you know. Bucharest is booming and offers great shopping for the most sophisticated tastes. Calea Victoriei is the King's Road of Bucharest, the new Chelsea of the Balkans. International designer brands from Max Mara to Furla and boutique shops are appearing in streets on a weekly basis. Never fear, you can still get those designer shoes and handbag, but for less than you'd shell out at home. After you've maxed your card out in the main boulevards, pop round the corner to Uniri's fruit and veg market. No excuses for not getting your 5 daily portions of fresh fruit and veg. So if you come to Romania, what is there to do?
Bucharest is a big city, and you should see the countryside. The mountains, the Carpathian Mountains, are very picturesque. There's also fabulous places for skiing. Another attraction in Romania, the Danube Delta. That's a paradise for fishermen and bird watchers. It's the largest natural reserve in Europe, right where the Danube flows into the Black Sea.
Just 2.5 hours drive from Bucharest, the Black Sea is a popular destination for international and Romanian beach lovers. Hotels, spas and water sports facilities have sprung up, and in season the beaches are packed with sunseekers. Shame the boss sent me in November though. Back in the centre of Bucharest, there's a fascinating mix of architecture. You'll find communist buildings next to classical styles. In the late 19th century, Romanian Francophiles brought Parisian architecture to the city. They've even got their own Arc de Triomphe, hence Bucharest's nickname, the Paris of the East. Sit tight, here are 4 fascinating things I bet you didn't know about Romania.
Fact number 1, Romania is one of the top fastest growing economies in Europe. Fact number 2, Romania's wine production dates back to the year 2000 BC, and it's now one of the largest wine producers in Europe. Fact number 3, a Romanian gymnast is the only person to ever score a perfect 10 at the Olympics. And fact number 4, Prince Charles has his own house in Transylvania, which is incidentally not just the birthplace of Dracula, but also the Cheeky Girls. I'll leave you to draw your own conclusions about that.
In Britain, only a small percentage of the population calls itself Christian. In Bucharest, you can find a church or cathedral on every corner. Nearly 90% of Romanians are hatched, matched and dispatched in the Eastern Orthodox religion. In the 11th century, after endless rows over who was boss, the Eastern Orthodox Church split from the Roman Catholics. They're now the world's 2nd largest Christian group, with about 240 million members across the globe. They think of themselves as linked directly to Jesus through a succession of apostles and saints. And unlike many other Christians, their ancient rituals remain intact. But I'm a bit of a sinner, not a saint.
Bucharest is a fascinating mix of architecture which kind of reflects Romania's checkered history. Now, you walk down a typical side street here, and on the one side you'll have Soviet-style high-rises from the communist era, and then on the other side you'll have exquisite monasteries, 18th century pretty gardens and ornate Orthodox churches. Now, I've been told that there's a pretty hot social scene here full of good bars and restaurants, but what I want right now is a good old-fashioned pint of lager, and I know just the place. You know, it's comforting to know that no matter where you go in the world, there'll always be an Irish pub.
So I'm off to meet Irishman and granddaddy to Bucharest's expat, David Larkin. There's a corner of his bar with my name on it.
A pint of lager, please. Ah, you must be Dave, the owner of this pub, The Hut.
Hi, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
And nice to meet you.
So, what's it like then owning this pub? Because you've got a rival up the road, haven't you? The Dubliner.
The Dubliner. Yeah. Good pub, the Dubliner, yes.
Yeah.
But it's also my pub.
Right, hang on a sec. So you've got a monopoly on all the Irish pubs in the area.
So far.
You are the Irish godfather of Romania.
Yeah, that's right.
So what are you doing here then?
Well, I've been here a long time. I came here just after the revolution, really achieving quite a lot.
When you take a walk around the streets here at Bucharest, do you think to yourself, wow, this place has really changed in the last few years?
It's unbelievable what has happened. I mean, it didn't happen really fast, but certainly the last few years things have changed dramatically. And this is a modern European city now. It has tremendous potential. They're young, educated people. They have all the aspirations that everybody else in the West has, and they're going for it big time. They really are. I think this is a very exciting place with a great future.
And what is it in particular you like about Bucharest as opposed to anywhere else in Romania?
For a big city, it's 2.5 million people. It's relatively crime-free, okay? You don't hear comments like drug-related crimes because there's no real drug scene and so on. If you're bringing up children, that's a wonderful situation to be in. My son and I like to play golf. We play snooker. We do activities that normal families do. And we can get out in the country as well. It's a very beautiful country. Outside is stunning, it really is. And the mountains are like Switzerland. It's fabulous.
And how do the Brit expats find it once they get here? Do they settle in quite easily?
They love it, okay, after the first 6 months. It takes a while to get used to it. Yeah. But once you're here and you do get used to it, it's a hard place to leave.
Now, if I was coming over here and I wanted to buy some property, would you have any recommendations? Is it a good market at the moment?
Do it now. Do it now. This is a bonanza market at the moment. It truly is.
Has it gone up a lot recently?
Oh, it's been going up 30% a year for the last 3 years. And people are making a fortune here. They're making a fortune.
30% in a year?
Yes.
That beats most bank account interest rates,
Absolutely.
Doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Have you got a few yourself?
I have made a lot of money here. I've done very well. Yes. Yes.
Have you sold many of them, or you still have them?
I have bought and sold. I think there's a few more years left in the market here. It's very hard to say, but I have invested and I have sold also, and I'm very happy with what I've achieved.
A bit of a football kind of area, this, isn't it? Because there's a Champions League game on tonight, Bucharest against Real Madrid. Now, is that something that your pub's going to be involved in?
Oh, absolutely. We're in the rough guide to football. This is the place where supporters meet. And, yeah, this is where they come to before the matches. We'll be in for a good night tonight.
So when you say in for a good night, are you expecting any trouble at the end of the night?
Oh, absolutely not. No, we don't have trouble here. And Romanians are pretty passive people.
So, safe for me to hit the streets then. Now, football has a massive following in Romania. Their boys in the national team did good in the World Cups of the 1990s when their biggest star was Georgi Hagi.
2-1 for Steaua.
The top dogs of the Romanian Premiership, though, are Steaua Bucharest, who the world really sat up and took notice of when they beat the mighty Barcelona in the European Cup final of 1986. And I was sneaky enough to snaffle a ticket to watch them in action.
And the atmosphere in the city is electric tonight because it's playing host to a massive Champions League game between Star Bucharest and Real Madrid. Yes, indeed, Beckham's in town. Thousands of fans are here enjoying the party spirit leading up to the big kickoff. I've got my flag and my scarf and I'm going to join them now. Join me after the break as I find out more about the hotspots of Romania.
Forța Steaua!
Welcome back to the real Romania. Now, just feast your eyes on that. It's hard to believe, but I am smack bang in the centre of the capital, Bucharest. Now, surrounding the city are lots of green parks with forests and lakes just like this. Take an average stroll through here on a lunchtime and you'll see couples sipping cappuccinos in the outdoor cafes, children playing, or people just hanging out and enjoying the fresh air. It's a tranquil oasis amid the hustle and bustle of a rapidly developing city.
Harastru Park is the largest of many scattered in and around Bucharest. You can take a lazy punt on one of the lakes in the summer, and in the winter, when the lakes freeze over, you can get your skates on with the rest of the city. On the shores of Lake Harastru is the Village Museum, a wonderful collection of 300 houses, workshops and churches. If you want to know how Romanians used to live, this is the place to see. Built in 1936 by royal decree, it's one of Europe's oldest open-air museums and the perfect way to escape to the country without ever leaving the city. But there's no harm getting out and about for just one-day trip, is there?
Well, you don't have to travel far from Bucharest to see some stunning scenery. Just an hour's drive away and we're up in the mountains. Beautiful. Bit cold this time of the year, though. But take a look at that. That's Peles Castle. It's one of Romania's must-sees, a magnificent royal palace. And during Ceausescu's era, it was a private retreat for some of the world's leading statesmen, including US Presidents Nixon and Ford, Colonel Gaddafi and Yasser Arafat. That must have been one heck of a party. It's also the first castle in Europe to have electricity and central heating. Could do with it on a day like this. Built in the late 1800s, the architecture of Peles Castle is German Renaissance, quite different from the French style which is so popular in Bucharest. To really understand Romania, though, head for the majestic Carpathian Mountains and slip, quietly as you can, into Transylvania, Dracula land. At dusk, the blood-sucking vampire would flit from turret to Gothic turret, searching for victims, only returning to his lair before the breaking of the door.
In actual fact, it's a load of codswallop. Dracula wasn't a real man. He was a fictional character created by Bram Stoker. And contrary to popular belief, he wasn't even based on Vlad the Impaler, a 15th century prince who had a nasty habit of impaling his enemies on a wooden stick. However, it might all be smoke and mirrors, but the Dracula myth is alive and well, and it's great for tourism. Now, where did I put my teeth?
The capital of Transylvania is Brasov. Now, to say it has a complicated history would be the biggest understatement, since Scott of the Antarctic said, "Brrr, it's a bit nippy down here, isn't it?" Let's just say that the ancient Romans, tribes of Hungarians, sword-wielding Saxons and conquering Turks all left their mark. Located on a trading route between Bucharest and the north of the country, modern Brasov is attracting modern migrants ahead of Romania's accession to the EU. It's a melting pot of customs, cultures and characters. I met one of those characters, Englishman Colin Shaw, who set up his Transylvanian business 9 years ago.
So, Colin, what brings you to Romania?
Well, I run a small travel company. I've been here for 14 years and in the last 9 years working in tourism.
So if you come to Romania, what is there to do?
There's loads of things to do. I think one of the great things about Romania is that we have the Carpathian Mountains that do a zigzag down through Romania with a lot of wildlife, a lot of historical things. Brasov here, for example, is only 2.5, 3 hours from Bucharest. It's a great place to come for a weekend or for a few days, really to get away from the hustle and bustle of the city centre of Bucharest itself. Walking in the mountains, watching wildlife, bird watching, hang gliding, paragliding, climbing if people are into climbing, mountain biking, trips by horse and cart, for example, going out to work with people working in the fields, ploughing by horse and by hand. Going out to see what the shepherds are doing.
I hear there's a real mixture of cultures in Transylvania.
Transylvania was part of Austro-Hungary until 1920, so there are bits of Austro-Hungarian culture. There were what we call the Saxon settlers, who were German people, came in the Middle Ages. Some of the buildings around Brasov here are very clearly Saxon buildings. But Transylvania is now part of Romania, so there's also Romanian culture. And there are the Seke people who were part of Austro-Hungary. They have their own culture as well. So in fact, if you look around, there are lots of different cultures about.
Well, it's clearly become more commercialised over the last few years, but has it managed to retain that Romanian tradition?
Yeah, you need probably to get out of the city and out into the country, but actually Romania is one of the countries where in some parts of Romania you can still find people wearing traditional clothes almost every day of the week, older people. Other parts of Romania, in fact even in this area, for religious festivals people are wearing traditional dress. And if you go and talk to people in the villages, then you'll get plum brandy, which is still brewed by people.
And once we're out the summer months, is it a big winter destination?
Yeah, we've got mountains up to 8,300 feet all around this area. A lot of snow, can be quite cold, -20 maybe. Very good for skiing, particularly becoming quite good for things like cross-country skiing and some of the more unusual winter sport.
But why pay Swiss prices when in Romania you've got mountains just as high, but costs up to 50% lower? And instead of slaving over the après-ski fondue, you can check out spooky castles, atmospheric monasteries and opulent palaces instead. Whether you're an Olympic champion or total novice, Romania is now serious competition for old Europe's more famous winter resorts.
Now, if I was to come and live here tomorrow, how much of a culture shock would it be for me? Would I have to adjust my way of life?
I think you should see Romania as being a challenge. Yeah, it would be a bit of a culture shock. There are different ways of doing business in Romania to what people are used to in Western Europe. It's a different lifestyle, different way of life, different things are important. But if you want to feel that you're alive and you're really living rather than just existing, then Romania's a good place to do that.
So you've been here since 1992. You must have seen this place change tremendously in that time.
Yeah, a lot of changes in Romania as a whole and in Brasov to a certain extent. The bit of Brasov we're in now still retained a lot of its character from the Saxon era. But yeah, Romania's changing as a whole. It's become much more commercial in a way. A lot of foreign visitors now. And just in fact in the last 2 or 3 years we've seen the number of visitors from Britain and from the USA increase quite dramatically.
Before 1990, most property in Romania was owned by the state or by Soviet-style agricultural co-ops. Now, most people have got their land back and are harvesting the fruits of their own labour. These guys sell their crops as well as making knockout cider. Actually, it's amazing that people are still here at all. Ceausescu had a policy called systematization. He wanted to demolish half of Romania's beautiful villages and move the country folk into cities. His plan was to herd people into high-rise blocks because, he used to say, community must dominate and control the individual. Good job he's gone then. But one thing Ceausescu could never change was the Romanian mania for headgear.
This is a Romanian shepherd's hat. These are still worn by most shepherds in Romania.
It's a bit small, isn't it?
That's how it's supposed to be. Do you want to try it on?
On the top of my head?
On top of your head and slightly over to one side, maybe.
There you go.
That looks good. That's about right, yeah.
Is that supposed to stay on, is it?
It is supposed to stay on. Usually on a shepherd, it will stay on. So.
All right, so how do they use this in what way?
Well, it's primarily a tradition just to be worn, but some shepherds tell me that as they don't have kind of hot water and running water and so on up in their shepherds' camps, then in order to have a wash, they'll just dip it in the river or the stream and stick it over their head and wash their head that way.
Right, you did wash that before you gave it to me.
This one, in fact, is my own. It's not originally a shepherd's.
It hasn't had 1,000 shepherd's hair and dandruff.
Not that I'm aware of.
What about this one here? It's a bit prettier, this one. I'm not sure whether to wear this one.
Yeah, certainly. This is, in fact, a traditional man's hat from one of the valleys. Indeed, yeah.
I'll give it a go, see if I can carry this one off. There we go. There we go. Nice. Do I look macho in it?
Actually, you look quite Romanian, quite Marmaresh, yeah.
Well, hats off to Colin for making a successful go of his Romanian business. Time to up the stakes now. Get it? Stakes? Nearly 100,000 square kilometres of Transylvania take in snowy mountain peaks, alpine meadows and dense forests that are home to wild boar and grumpy bears. In the summer, it offers a huge variety of outdoor activities like bird watching,
mountain biking, look out! There's even rock climbing. Oh, just look at me go. What an action hero. The ladies are going to love me in my tight lycra pants. Stop. Cut. Don't snip this bit out. Stop.
Whoa, I'm shattered. You see, I'm not used to so much activity. And for obvious reasons, I didn't want to spend the night in Transylvania. No, not because I'm frightened of vampires, werewolves or creepy crawlies. It's because I just fancied a few hours eating, drinking and making merry Romanian style.
Now, having come down from the mountains, I've worked up a real man's hunger. So, I've come to a traditional Romanian restaurant to try out the local food. First things first, we've got ourselves a starter here, which is polenta, which is made out of maize, with an egg on top and lots of cheese. For a main course, we've then got cabbage leaves stuffed with mincemeat and bacon, and oh look, a job load of polenta. They really like their polenta around here, I have to say. As an alternative, you could have a plate of crap. Don't be alarmed, it's not what you're thinking. It's actually the Romanian word for carp, and what we have here is a carp mousse with a side salad garnish. For dessert, you have cheese fritters with jam, which is, for all intents and purposes, a jam donut, but it does look lovely, I must say. And to wash it all down, a traditional local drink, plum brandy. Cheers! Oh, that is strong. And the best thing about this place is they even lay on entertainment.
Romanian nosh is delicious, but a tiny bit filling, so it's a good thing they've got an energetic way of working it off. Folk music and dance is still very much alive in Romania, especially in the countryside, and the variation in musical styles could fill a library. Even though folk dancing is practically compulsory in Romania, it really was a leap of faith on this young lady's part to ask me to put my best foot forward. This is an ancient dance called the Pomita, a love ballad from the south of the country, performed by the bride, groom and the guests at a wedding. Let's be completely honest about this, I don't look that good on the dance floor.
Taxi!
Well, that's quite enough of my dancing. And remember, please, don't have nightmares. So much for history and tradition. Before hitting the sack, I promised my mates I'd find out for myself how Bucharest compared to nightlife London style. The beer, nice and cheap. The atmos, warm and welcoming. The locals, friendly and happy to chat. Imagine my horror when I realised my choice of drink wasn't as macho as it could have been. Luckily, my new best friend didn't notice the switch.
Cheers. What a nice bloke. The bars around here are really friendly and easygoing. Now, I've experienced Romania as a visitor, but what if you want to move here as a resident? Join me after the break when I'll be finding out more. Welcome back to the real Romania. Now, I've done all my sightseeing, but I'm not just here as a tourist, I'm also here to find out what the property market is like. So I've come here to the World Trade Plaza in Bucharest to one of the biggest property exhibitions for Romanian and foreign investors, to meet a man who knows.
20 different property developers are exhibiting a range of homes for the 21st century. Companies from all over the world are here, including one chap who's been working in construction for over 20 years and living in Bucharest for 6 months. Graham Cummings.
Graham, nice to meet you.
Oh, pleased to meet you.
So why is this a good time to invest in property in Romania at the moment?
If you're looking at the figures that have been released by PricewaterhouseCoopers, for the last 12 months it's been running at 100% capital growth. They're predicting within 40% for the next 5 years. The rental market is very, very strong. The reason for this being is the fact that people are coming across working for the major corporate companies that are setting up in Bucharest, with the likes of IBM, Coca-Cola, Pirelli, Unilever, IKEA.
Are they buying it to rent out, or are they buying it to actually live in Romania?
At this point in time now, you're looking at it from a pure investment point of view. So basically they'll be renting it out for long periods of time. And at the same time, they're looking at it from a capital growth point of view.
So this is perhaps an example of the kind of thing that's being built at the moment, is that right?
This is one of the types that is available to our clients. This is a duplex property, 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. Our clients have the luxury of having all white goods included.
What's the price levels here? How much does it range?
For Melbourne itself, it varies. The starting price for this is 154,700 euros starting price, and it can go up to 240, 245,000.
Okay, so it's affordable. Do the sports cars come with it?
No, they don't, unfortunately, no.
Is this the only example of a building that you're putting forward at the moment?
No, this is one of the projects that we have. We have another project which I can show you now.
Okay.
I'll show you now. Let's go.
Over here?
Yeah.
I like the car. It's a lot bigger than the last one.
That doesn't come with the property, unfortunately.
So what's this one then?
This is very similar to Melbourne. The only difference is that these are townhouses, where Melbourne are duplexes, and Sydney comes with underground parking, where Melbourne has its normal parking.
It's all very well looking at models, but it'd be nice to see the actual locations for real. Is there somewhere we can go?
Of course. I'll take you there right now.
Okay. After you.
Let's go. Okay.
With confidence like this in the country, it's no surprise that so much construction work is going on. In the north of Bucharest, where Graham wanted to take me, demand for high-quality houses and apartments exceeds supply. This part of the city has been growing for a couple of years. Lots of classic developments offer 4, 5 and 6-bedroom houses for less than the cost of a 1-bed studio in London.
So this is Sydney Residence. This actually accommodates 102 units. We have units that are facing north, which will be facing the lake, and we have units that are facing the south, which you actually have a green belt area. It's a very, very, very prime location because of the fact that it's 5 minutes from the airport, and once the transportation system has been set up, it'll be 15 minutes into Bucharest city.
How many people are going to live in a place like this?
This will accommodate 102 people, 102 families, units.
Okay, and what sort of people?
Like I said before, it's going to be from middle management all the way up to directorship.
Okay, well, this is the finished project. How far are you getting with the actual reality of this?
Well, let me show you, because people are actually busy at the moment.
Okay. Wow. There's a lot of people here, actually. How many have you got?
There's a couple of hundred people working on the site at the moment. Construction actually started of September of this year, and completion date will be June 2008.
Okay, and what can we see here? Obviously, they're putting down the foundations at the moment. How far is it going to stretch back?
This will stretch back to a couple of hundred metres. Naturally, it's got to accommodate 102 units. It's in the north of Bucharest at the moment. This is where everything is happening. This is going to be very, very close to all the commercial centres.
People buying off plan, when they come over for inspection trips, do you actually take them to a site like this to show them how it's getting on?
We do. The most important thing is for the people to actually identify the location, to make sure that all the information that we give them is correct. At the same time, they need to feel comfortable with the site that we've actually shown them. Once they're comfortable with that, we go back and then we follow the normal procedures. If you look at the location, it's a very prime location. What you'll find is that the majority of the people that will be living in this community will be expats, but at the same time it will also accommodate their very influential Romanians.
OK, well, Graham, thanks very much indeed for all your help.
It's a pleasure.
Cheers.
Thank you.
You know, coming from London, it's quite difficult to imagine what it would be like being an expat living in an expat community. So right now, I'm off to meet a lady who knows all about it. This is a gated community. They're really popular among expats of all nations, and they're springing up all over the place. What's more, they're giving some real oomph to the Romanian economy. Looks like a real home from home too. Just down the road from the construction site, this is Băneasa in the northeast of Bucharest, and I'm at a typical community of mainly expats. Let's go and meet one of them now. Michaela's typical of the newcomers to Bucharest. Young, adventurous and international.
Richard.
I am, yes.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, come in.
Thank you very much. Lovely place you've got here, actually. Very roomy.
Thanks very much.
Cheers.
Cup of tea?
Oh, just the ticket. Thanks very much.
Come this way. This is Elliot.
Hello, Elliot. Come on, let's go and get that cup of tea. Oh, that's lovely. So, Michaela, what's brought you to Romania?
Well, actually, we just moved here 2 months ago because my husband's been transferred with his company. He works for a French multinational company, and they offered him a position over here working in sales. He's looking after all of the Balkan countries.
So what made you choose this area?
Either we could look for somewhere downtown, which would have meant an apartment in the centre of town, or a lot of expats come and live up here in this area, which is called Băneasa. It's a new residential area that's basically been built up for the last 7 years. And up here you can have sort of a larger house. There's room for a garden because the prices are considerably lower than the centre of town. There are a lot of schools in the area because it's a very multinational kind of community.
And when your husband's away working, do you feel quite alone here, or have you got people that you've already met?
No. I don't feel lonely at all because we live in a community that's a gated area, a gated street, and we made a lot of friends as soon as we moved in. So I know my neighbours very well. I have Canadian neighbours on either side, and some French neighbours, and there's a couple of other English people that live in the complex.
What about going out of an evening if you manage to get away from the kids? What sort of places do you go to?
We go downtown. You have to go out of this area to find any kind of nightlife. Restaurants are very good and much cheaper than in the rest of Western Europe. And taxis are very cheap. So we always take a taxi because here they're very, very hard on drink driving. It's a zero tolerance. You can't have anything to drink if you're driving, and they're very strict. They take away your license, and you can go to jail even if you're caught. So we don't take any risk.
Do you foresee in the future more and more British people coming over here to settle?
I think so. The British community seems to be growing from what other people have told me. It's a very attractive place for people coming in from places like the UK, where the cost of living is a lot higher. Certainly the cost of living is cheaper in this country, and you can afford to have a higher standard of living for the same kind of money. So that's obviously one of the advantages. For example, most people that I know, the husband works, but the wife is able to stay at home and look after the kids, or do whatever she wants, and you can afford to have the same kind of standard of living as you would in the UK, both working full time. So,
what are the supermarkets like? What's day-to-day life like?
Day-to-day life is actually not so different nowadays, I think, from anywhere else in Europe. It's getting to be more and more like any of the Western European countries, because we can find now all kinds of brands that apparently weren't available 6 months, a year ago. I actually shop in a French supermarket called Carrefour. It's a big chain similar to Tesco's, as Tesco's aren't actually here yet. Carrefour and some other French, mainly French supermarkets actually are here. And Carrefour is just a couple of kilometres away down the road. And I think everybody that I know shops there. And you can find, you know, most of your home comforts. Yeah. Heinz ketchup and Lurpak butter, these kind of things you can find here now.
Michaela, thanks very much. Good luck in the future, and thanks for the cup of tea.
Oh, you're welcome.
Having spoken to Michaela, I've decided to come to the local supermarket to check out the cost of living for myself. So, I've decided to buy a few basic provisions to compare the Romanian prices with those back home. Now, the local currency is called lei. So let's start off with some eggs. Lei eggs. Never mind. Now, we've got 6 here, and that is 2.5 lei. So that's roughly 50p. Loaf of bread, 16p. A litre of milk, 45p. Local cheese, £3.90. How about some butter? Here we go. 65p. And 1 litre of local Romanian wine, £1.05. Packet of sugar, 50p. And if you eat all that, you'll certainly be needing some of this. 4 bog rolls, £1.78. Let's head for the checkout. Thank you very much. 34 lei and 47, so that's roughly £6.90. Quite reasonable. Taxi! The guy at the checkout earns €100 a month, which is roughly the same as a waitress. This taxi driver earns €200 a month, which is about the same as a teacher. A GP earns €300 a month, and a lawyer earns €1,000 a month. That gives you a rough idea of the cost of living for Romanians. The minimum salary is €130 a month. It's not much, is it?
So, life is still pretty expensive for the locals. Even before the country's accession to the European Union in 2007, thousands left the country to work abroad. They sent spare cash back home to their families, of course. But the good news is, most analysts think the standard of living for ordinary working people will see a steady improvement. Best of luck to them, I say.
But what happens if you want to buy a property like this, but you're not overly keen on moving to another country? Join me after the break when I'll be getting the lowdown on buying property in Romania purely for investment. Welcome back to the show. Now, we've just found out about buying property if you're intending to move to and settle in Romania. But there are plenty of people buying places simply to make money. That's what I'm going to find out about now. And my first port of call is a solicitor who specialises in property law. Neil, from a purely legal perspective, how easy is it for foreign investors to buy property in Romania?
They're fairly easy if you've got organised and been prepared. The basic problem for any non-Romanian here is that at present you cannot own Romanian land. Therefore, if you want to do so, you need to form first a Romanian company.
So what advice would you give to people who are considering buying somewhere to invest in from a law perspective?
Take your time. Come out, meet the people who you want to work with. As a matter of practicality, if you have a company, you need to have an administrator, as they're called here, which is a director. Somebody needs to sign things for the company. Who's that person going to be? If it's you sitting outside Romania, will that be practical? If it's a question of a corporate seat for the company you form, have you got somewhere? It's not just a question of having the name on the lawyer's wall. Here you have to have a title to the corporate seat, registered office. That can be either a lease or a free lease or property that you own.
How do you think the EU membership will affect the legal process?
I think in due course it will improve it. Obviously there's a large body of EU law which suddenly comes into force. Parts of it are already in force here because the law is supposed to be harmonised. But there's a lot of EU law for people to digest very, very quickly. Some people will be familiar with what's required, others less so. It's going to be a learning process, I suspect, even after accession.
So what Neil's made perfectly clear is that although joining the European Union will make buying property in Romania more accessible, the process will still have quite a bit of red tape. So it's obvious, really. Get yourself a good lawyer and let them make sense of it. Money well spent, I say. Especially as prices are low, properties are stylishly built, and there's a lot of choice. There's also the possibility of good capital growth and decent rental income. Sounds good to me. I've come to a big international hotel right in the centre of the city to meet an investor who's really putting his money where his mouth is. So Aidan, why now? Why Bucharest? Why Romania? Why not somewhere else?
Well, it's all happening here. EU accession 2007, becoming an EU member country. Nice tax levels. There's a flat tax rate of 16%. That's quite nice for capital gains. You can see the infrastructure improving by the day. The roads, the rail network, it's improving by the day. And it's all here. Romania has everything. It's got a beautiful countryside. It's got the facilities. It's got a fabulous underground and a subway and a network that it's obviously a city built for growth, and you can see that. I mean, even the boulevards, for example, today, there's big, wide boulevards, lots of space. Okay, we have some traffic issues now, but why? Because the roads are being redone. Everything is improving.
What's your criteria, then, for picking out a good property? What should people be looking out for?
Let's say, for example, a piece of land, just a piece of land. So obviously your criteria for a piece of land is the area it's in, so you need to know it's an up-and-coming zone. You need to know that it has the necessary water, the necessary gas, all the facilities. You need to be able to compare one piece of land here with another piece of land maybe 300-400 metres away. The prices can be different. You need to shop around. So area, location, cost per square metre, these are the main things you want to look at. The future does not lie in buying apartments in old buildings. The future now probably lies, if you're looking at actual residential, lies in new projects, like new large projects that are currently occurring in the city. Some of these projects have, for example, one project has 4 towers of 15 stories high, with security, with swimming pools, sauna, all the facilities currently under development. And these prices in these apartments for new modern buildings are still superb.
What about smaller investors? Say, for example, my wife and I have got a little bit of spare cash floating around. Okay. We're interested in investing in Romania. What's our minimum outlay, and what kind of capital growth can we expect, and how would the whole system work?
Okay, you can buy an apartment, okay, for example, in your name, but to buy, for example, a full property with a piece of land, now you need to make a company. And the red tape can be involved in this process. For example, when you're establishing your company to get your simple little things like your bank account open, it takes weeks to get this done. Okay, and it's painful. You need a lawyer involved, you need an accountant involved, you need a friendly bank involved, you need to know what you're doing, and the red tape in between getting all these papers, they seem to have about 5 times more paperwork than we have. You then acquire the property into that company, and the property could be, for example, an off-plan apartment. You could put down maybe a deposit of €5,000, then maybe a month later when you sign your contracts for this property in the company's name, you would pay your, say, 40% less the 5,000. 50,000. Then in 10 months' time, because these are normally maybe a year and a half to 2 years to complete, in 10 months' time you'll pay another 20%, 3 months later you'll pay another 30%, and finally your keys will be handed over to you on the 10%. And then there's the magic stamp. Everything needs a stamp. So yeah, there is a lot of red tape.
I'd really like to see some of these properties up close. Is that possible?
Yeah, well, I think maybe what we could do is to take a typical apartment in the centre. I could take you to a typical apartment in the centre. You could have a look at that and see a one-bedroom, for example. Come and have a look at a one-bedroom.
Let's go.
Okay.
Now I feel in really safe hands with Aidan. This is a man who knows his stuff. Apartments in the city centre are big business. Right in the heart of the commercial area, they're a must-have for multinationals sending staff out on short-term contracts. Staff that need to rent slap bang in the middle of town.
Boulevard's been upgraded.
So, Aidan, this seems like a really bustling part of town.
Yeah, it is. Well, traffic-wise it is. That's the main boulevard cutting through the centre of Bucharest called Boulevard Unirii. Leads all the way to the People's Palace back here. And we're coming up now here to an intersection called Traian. And I'm going to take you over here to one of the one-bedroom apartments I spoke about. A typical one-bedroom apartment inside one of the older blocks, but you'll get an idea and a feel for the whole thing.
Just looking on the outside of that building there, you've got quite a few satellite dishes and aircon units.
Yeah, you do. But this is going away. This has been removed. Not just satellite dishes, but you also have cables, for example, that are coming down and going under the ground. These are being removed and improved on slowly but surely. And you'll also see, very interestingly, look at the facade on the new building over here.
Oh, yeah.
All of these facades are being upgraded and improved all the way down the boulevard. Satellite dishes and air conditioning units are coming down.
And has this all changed since you've come here?
Yeah, well, for starters, when I got here first, it wasn't kept so well. The fountains weren't working, the grass wasn't cut. OK, it said can be improved on, but it's been major improvement since I got here first. It's a beautiful place in the summertime. Now it's a little bit gloomy with our weather, but in the summertime it's a really nice place.
OK, let's go and have a look at that apartment.
So, yeah, it's basically all improved. All the common areas have improved, the floors, the ceilings. So basically, this is a typical one-bedroom apartment. This was bought less than 3 years ago, about 65,000 euros. Rental income in this would be about 700 euros per month. If you work that out, it's about 12–13%, so a lot more than we get at home. Anyway, if you come over this way here and we go into the living room area, you see it's a modern apartment with tiles on the floor, obviously nice tiling on the floor. There's a jacuzzi in the bathroom.
Nice.
It's all there.
What about infrastructure in terms of broadband and telephone?
Wireless internet access is here, 2.5 megabits now actually in November. The whole thing is all modernised. And remember, less than 3 years ago, 60,000 euros. And this is the one I was telling you about where the neighbours have sold their apartment for 125,000 euros.
What kind of person would live here?
Typically what you're going to get is maybe somebody like you over on a visit to Romania for a week or two, or maybe 6 months work here. So typically a foreigner is renting this for about the 700 euros a month.
It's even got its own nice balcony.
Yeah, it's got actually 2 balconies if you want to come and have a look.
If I'm being honest, Aidan, it's not the most modern-looking vista.
No, it's not. But if, for example, if you look at that building over there, approximately 8 months ago, that was really nothing. It was a bit of a mess like this here. And behind that, you see another structure already on the way up. So things are improving all the time. I mean, if you come here again, maybe in another 6 months' time, and see what's going to happen down here at this building and behind that, you'll see further improvements.
And we can see the city at large as well in the background. Some pretty modern-looking superstructures there.
Well, there's the Intercontinental Hotel right in the middle, OK? To the right of that, you have the Howard Johnson. And now you have the tallest structure in Bucharest. It's called the Millennium Business Centre, I believe. And over there you have the BRD building at Piazza Victoria. So you can see most of we can't see the People's Palace, but you can see most of the new modern structures that are going on out there.
So there's so much money coming in, and these pockets like this are just becoming squeezed out gradually. They're being modernised all the time.
Absolutely. I mean, this other structure here, this Millennium Business Centre, I believe, was sold for about 36.3 million.
Yeah, wow. What about these buildings over here? Are they going to?
No, they're going to go. They're going to go. They've all been going, or at least modernised. But I think they're going to be knocked.
Aidan, it's been an eye-opener. Thank you very much indeed.
Not at all. Pleasure.
Cheers.
So, with the likes of Aidan investing in Bucharest property, I feel the future's looking pretty bright for Romania. Can't tell you often enough, though, watch out for all that red tape.
Thinking of buying a property in Romania? Here's 4 pieces of advice. Number 1, use a reputable company. Number 2, find yourself an independent lawyer you can trust. Number 3, come out here for yourself and make sure it's all tickety-boo before buying. And number 4, be prepared to invest for at least 3 years. Well, I think Romania is a fantastic country right now. But before I left, I asked everyone I'd met what they thought the future held for this ex-communist state and 7th biggest EU country.
We will get nearer and nearer to the Western standards, and everybody looks forward to that.
Future's bright. I'm going to stick around here for another few years at least anyway. I'm going to continue on in the property environment. It's a lot of fun and it's growing, and there's great opportunity to make some money here.
You can only see more bigger companies, major corporate companies coming in the near future.
Romania still a very bureaucratic country. It was held back by 45 years of supposedly communism. It's still going to take some time to get out of that, but Romanian people are working hard on that.
The city, I think, will continue to grow. People are, I think, leaving the countryside and coming into the city. I think that will continue as a trend.
It has tremendous potential. They're young, educated people. They have all the aspirations that everybody else in the West has, and they're going for it big time. They really are. I think this is a very exciting place with a great future.
So there you go. And having spent a few days here myself in Romania, and in particular Bucharest, with its easy access to the parks and the mountains and the lakes, I can see that this place has huge potential. Not just for families looking for a quality lifestyle, but also for fun-loving singles and obviously those looking for pure investment opportunities as well. And with more and more money flowing into the facilities and the infrastructure, things are only going to get better. One thing I have learnt though is do try to get in sooner rather than later to really take advantage of the peaks. In which case you'll want to find out even more about Romania before you set off. So, why not call us on 0800 310 1444 if you're watching in the UK, 1800 63 50 31 from Ireland, or visit our jam-packed website, all the W's, overseaspropertytv.com. Until next time then, goodbye.